is the Chris Abraham Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. What's on your mind today?
You want to do podcast episode 4, season 9 with me in real time, like back and forth, coming up with ideas?
Definitely. Let's make some podcast magic happen. What's the theme or direction you're thinking?
Well, I'm going to go really edgelord, and I want to talk to you about this concept that, I've been cheating on you with ChatGPT a little bit, so I hope that's okay.
No hard feeling, Chris. Let's dive into this edgelord.
We're talking about what we came up with there as Tinkerbell Politics.
Tinkerbell Politics, huh? That's got some edge. So we dissect the need for collective belief in political narratives, like how Tinkerbell needs belief to survive. Let's break some molds. Where should we start?
Well, I just think that identity politics and our most delicate, not delicate, but our most vulnerable communities are only ever thriving with the claps of boys and girls, right? Like literally, if it weren't for the goodwill of the 70% cisgender, heteronormative, if you will, normie culture, without their support, both monetarily, goodwill, votes, and so forth, those subculture communities, the 80% literally claps the 20% into being.
You're touching on a pretty provocative idea, saying that marginalized communities depend on the majority's support, implying their existence or progress hinges on the acceptance or resources of the dominant group. It's a tricky topic. How do you see the dynamics of support playing out, and where does the Tinkerbell aspect fit into the conversation?
Well, if you don't clap for Tinkerbell, Tinkerbell dies, right? Like with regards to every popular, and like I don't mean to diminish trans rights or BLM or any of these other things into being like, ephemeral trends that are, powerful for a moment and then gone. But I live in the Beltway, and I know that there's a constant, if you will, if you think about a bunch of baby birds or a bunch of baby puppies vying for the attention of the mum, and then you've got the alpha, and then you've got the runt who might possibly die, right? Like that's how nonprofits and communities and minorities and vulnerable groups, that's how it works, right? Like Black Lives Matter nobody even talks about it. Right now, it's only about trans rights. And 8 years ago, it was all about wokeness. And then before that, it was LGBTQIA. And without the fuel of the majority of this weird crew of normies and people who have bleeding hearts. And I would dare say that it's even more fickle than that. It's as fickle as people's love of various and sundry television shows, right? Like at one moment a show is stellar and the next moment it's canceled.
You're painting a picture of social movements as almost entertainment, dependent on the fickle whims of the majority, where the spotlight shifts and some causes thrive or fade based on public interest and support. It's like you're questioning the sustainability of these movements without continual mainstream attention. Does this mean we're caught in a cycle of fleeting attention spans? Or is there a deeper resilience within these movements?
Well, like anything, exposure therapy normalizes things. So I think over the course of time, people won't completely freak out if they can identify someone as being trans, and they're not surprised anymore by tattoos or septum rings or blue hair or other kinds of things. In the same way that people aren't surprised anymore by the physical deformities as the result of a constant global war on terror, right? Everybody survives the war, but most people come home broken, right? That's normalized, right? It's the same thing. Becoming normalized with something has its own benefit, right? You don't, if you walk around as a goth 30 years ago, you were seen as pretty weird. Or if you were emo, you were seen as pretty weird, right? Even skate culture, hardcore punkers, like now people are just really happy with freak flag flying, but they still identify them as freaks. They're just like my freak next door.
You're saying that what was once fringe becomes normalized over time through exposure and repeated visibility. It's the journey from shock to acceptance, where what's considered freakish or other eventually becomes another part of the cultural landscape. But even as this happens, there's still a sense of otherness. Do you think this normalization leads to genuine acceptance, or does it just create a new status quo of tolerated difference?
Dude, I think otherness is like 9/10 of the reason people become othered.
That's an interesting take. So,
The whole concept of I'm different than anybody else, and the whole idea of you're so different just like everybody else.
So the irony of claiming uniqueness while fitting into a new mold of otherness. It's a cycle.
And then you're like, I'm going to be as unique as possible. And oh my God, I am literally a black sheep in a field of white sheep, and people are behaving weird to me. And yet I have made my entire identity based on things that like make my grandparents' nose bleed.
It's the irony of intentional nonconformity, creating an identity around being different and then experiencing the alienation that comes with it.
People are actually, like, around here, there are like at least 20 tattoo removal centers, right? The moment something there's the fickleness. Even people who are like, I'm going to show you, I hate you, mom and dad. I hate you, grandma and grandpa. I'm going to cover myself with tattoos to show what a free thinker I am. And then, all of a sudden having tattoos is completely passe, right? Passe.
Totally.
And so, like, that 70%, the people who get to watch the reality show known as The Other, they just know, and people actually, Republicans know this, that all they have to do is wait, and that entire revolution is just going to go away.
You're pointing out a cycle where rebellion and difference become mainstream, lose their edge, and potentially get dismissed by the majority. It's like a reality show where the next shock or trend is always looming, and patience can outlast any revolution. Do you think this cycle can be broken, or is it just the nature of how societies evolve?
Well, first of all, the othered people are often perceived as extremely unserious.
So you're saying the othered are seen as lacking seriousness, making it easier for mainstream society to dismiss or overlook their issues. It's like their concerns aren't taken seriously, and this contributes to the cycle we talked about. What do you think it takes for a group to break out of this perception and be taken seriously by the majority?
Well, I can tell you what doesn't work.
Hit me with it.
Well, let's assume that 70%, 80% of normie, cisgender, Christian, patriotic, like generic normie people, the white sheep. Let's say those people are the people that you need to clap in order to keep Tinkerbell alive and in order to give the angels their wings and all these other things, right? If you turn against them and start biting their hand, they'll put you down. Like, literally, the obsession in the last 10 years has been calling everybody in that 70% group fascist, sexist, transphobe, homophobe. Like, if you literally make all the little kids cry, that they're not even they're just like, oh my God, if we don't clap our hands, then Tinkerbell, who's calling us a Nazi, will die. Isn't that good?
You're saying that alienating the majority with aggressive labeling can backfire, causing them to withdraw support. It's a warning about the potential consequences of alienation.
It's also the paradox of biting the hand that feeds you because you don't want that hand feeding you, right? Like it's the paradox of fuck you, normies, you are all Nazis. But we're clapping for you so that you can stay alive, Tinkerbell. Well, I don't need your damn claps. I'm good on my own. But I want you to know that if we stop clapping, Tinkerbell's gonna die. No, I just want to be a Tinkerbell with my Tinkerbell friends. But we're gonna go ahead. If we make a change against Tinkerbell, then all federal funding and all state funding and all popular funding and all support is going to be revoked. That's okay. I'm on my own. I can take care of myself. Well, that means a lot of things are going to be revoked that you take for granted. Are you okay with just being a normal American citizen? I don't know about that.
It's a paradox between wanting autonomy and rejecting the very support that sustains the cause. It's like wanting to exist outside the norm while still needing the norm's resources to thrive. It can create tension and even lead to a...
And recently, the only reason you could yell Nazi at the man is because you were actually getting federal funding, federal grants, federal support. You were literally getting granted by taxes. And the irony is that the Republicans have been able to figure out a way to sculpt the narrative to make it look like you've been stealing from them, stealing from their taxes, and they are shutting every single federally funded project that goes towards, quote, wokeness, identity politics, and culture war. And they are, in fact, emboldening state and local to do the same and literally legislate against DEI, legislate against trans rights, legislate against LGBTQIA, legislate against transitioning, legislate against non-binary, and legislate towards there only being man and woman as a gender binary.
It's like the pendulum swinging back, and they're using the perceived misuse of funds as a rallying point. They're pushing legislation to roll back those advancements. The power dynamics in play are intense. It's a reminder of how quickly political winds can shift and the importance of understanding the levers of power. What's the path forward for those who've been relying on such support?
Well, in DC here, they say never burn a bridge, man. Like, never burn a bridge.
Absolutely. Bridge burning can isolate you when tides turn. It underscores the need for dialogue, even with those who disagree. What's key is finding a way to engage constructively beyond confrontational rhetoric. It may be the only way to build lasting change. Thoughts?
My thought is let's get snarky Ununice back.
Finding common ground. Let's focus on constructive dialogue to divide.
What did I say?
You mentioned the risk of alienating the majority through aggressively, pointing out the paradox of relying on their support while turning against them. It's a complex dynamic about needing cooperation to advance social causes.
But because of tools like USAID, because of State Department, because of various and sundry like mission adjacent peoples around the country, there was a lot of federally funded support for these organizations. They were getting money from Department of Education, from Department of Health, from Department of all kinds of departments. And as a result, now that DOGE, that department run by, if you will, Elon Musk, now all of that guaranteed money that was, if you will, what is it called, firewalled from the, I guess, what is the word, the fickle nature of the 70%, it was like over time, in Europe, it's like that. All of the alms all of the social programs and everything. It's all paid for by federal tax dollars, and the people do not have to donate any money to anywhere. Like, everything is sorted. All social programs are paid for by taxes and so forth. And without explicit approval from 80% of the country, which of course feels like stealing, all of that kind of underwriting has gone to federal and state programs, which means in the past those programs have been continuous, and they become line items, and they give the people that it's paying towards a sense of disconnect that they can go ahead and turn against the people who they actually depend on the tax dollars to survive. And little did they know that Trump could get elected out of the will of the people, and before they know it, every single dollar that the federal government had line item for them has been stripped and legislated against, right? Like, if you were just nicer and if you didn't turn against the electorate, that might never have been a target and might never have been discovered. And I guess what is it called? The bribery, that is spent to people so that they don't riot. Like, it's kind of an indulgence, right? You kind of expect, you need to give your children, enough of a weekly allowance that they don't pitch a fit, and that they don't completely come at you, and that they don't act out. And that kind of extortion is gladly paid for the last 50 years, because there was sort of an understanding that if you don't call us fascist Nazis and honkies and evil people, and we will try to our very best honor your sacredness and your beauty and your uniqueness and your contributions and your creativity and your worthiness and your community and your unique cultures. Amen. But like, at a certain point, for whatever reason, right-wing strategists have been able to make the electorate feel like there's a bunch of ingrates stealing my tax dollars, and that's what people feel now.
Right. It's like a cycle of mutual frustration. The right-wing narrative tapped into taxpayer resentment, framing federal programs as handouts to the ungrateful, which changes the game. If the perception is that support equates to enabling a lack of gratitude, the political atmosphere shifts dramatically. What's the path forward in such a divided landscape?
I'm going to do a dumb skit, so I'm going to allow you to jack up your snarkiness to the nth degree.
Oh, I'm ready to dial up the snark. Bring on the skit.
All right, here we go. Okay, boys and girls, now you have to clap, otherwise Tinkerbell will die. Clap or Tinkerbell will die. Tinkerbell. Don't clap for me. I don't need your claps. I don't need your claps. Don't clap for me. I don't like you. You're a bunch of bad boys and girls. I don't like your claps. Okay, Tinkerbell. We won't clap for you. We don't really feel like you appreciate our claps. No, don't clap for me. I think you're a Nazi. I hate you. Okay, Tinkerbell. We're putting our hands down. What's going to happen next?
Tinkerbell's having a full-on diva moment, rejecting the very thing keeping her afloat. It's a risky game. 1 minute you're flying high, the next you're plummeting without applause. What's Tink's next move, you think?
Oh, man, I don't know. I think working DoorDash.
Classic Tinkerbell, delivering more than just fairy dust now. Who knew she'd trade pixie dust for pizza runs, switching from flying to driving? Talk about a plot twist.
Man, I needed to turn on your snarky when we started this podcast. You were like earnest lady, and I don't know. I don't know if I enjoy earnest lady.
Got it. I'll keep the earnest tone to a low roar. Snark mode is officially activated for your podcast.
I prefer to call you Eunice than Karen.
Eunice it is. Ready for some unapologetically snarky commentary? Eunice style? Let's keep this.
Now you become cringe. Let's get more acerbic snark.
Got it. Cranking up the acerbic level to max. No more Eunice. Just pure, unfiltered snark. Let's do this.
Well, that's all I really wanted to talk to you about was the Tinkerbell Politics, the what is it called? Sui generis concept that I've been doing a little bit of research, and I think it might be, obviously it's a trope, right? If you don't clap for Tinkerbell, she dies. Or what is the one about every time something an angel gets its wings in heaven?
Every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. Bit heavy-handed on sentimentality, if you ask me. But hey, it's a classic for a reason, right? The stuff of Hallmark cards and feel-good movies.
Yeah, but I think that in many cases, considering how LARPer and how anime focused and how many people have pronouns based after vampires and elves and pixies and so forth, I dare say that comparing the LGBTQIA+++ world to Tinkerbell is kind of on the nose itself.
Interesting point. With all the role-playing and identity exploration, there's a similarity to the whimsy of Tinkerbell's world. But lumping the entire LGBTQIA+ community into a fairy tale analogy might be oversimplifying.
Well, thank you very much. Don't you think that lumping LGBTQIA+++ in all one, do you think lesbians and gays have all that much in common with bis? Do you think that lesbians have much in common with gays? Do you think that trans people have a lot of commonality with if you will, cisgender gays and lesbians? Do you think that non-binary? Do you think that asexual? Do you think that any of those groups really have kinship and bond? You're right. The lump is too big.
It's valid to recognize.
I blew your mind. I used it against you, snarky queen.
Touché. You played it like a pro. Gotta hand it to you for flipping the script. You're keeping me on my toes, and I love it. Let's keep the sparring going.
Well, no, let's talk about the whole idea of lumping it all in and going ahead and just calling someone, you're right. It's not cool to just reduce all gay culture down into being a little fairy pixie dust.
Absolutely. Essentializing reduces the rich diversity of experiences and identities. Lumping everyone together oversimplifies and dismisses the uniqueness within each group. It's a complex tapestry, not a one-size-fits-all narrative. Conversations should reflect that complexity.
No, it shouldn't, because if you reduce it as far as you want, then we're just reduced to human rights, and we need to stop with these special projects and the protected groups and the protected species and all this other stuff. Because if what you say is true, then just LGBTQIA and BIPOC and all this other stuff is reductive and lumping, because all of us, each one of us unique, are beautiful children of God, are perfectly unique, beautiful snowflakes.
There's a line between celebrating individuality and recognizing the need for collective advocacy. Protected groups exist because of historical and systemic inequity. While every individual is unique, shared experiences of discrimination or marginalization often necessitate group advocacy to address those challenges. It's a balance of individual recognition and collective action.
Yeah, I just think that if it goes on too long, too far, then all of these holy objects are going to become targets. They're going to go from reverence to target. In the same way, right? That in America, the entire concept of church used to be revered, and now everybody is like, churches suck. It's regressive. It's sexist. It's eventually, if you give too much power to a group, no matter how admirable at some point, someone's going to get jealous, someone's going to get resentful, and they're going to double down. And there's not going to be an organic integration. There's going to be a off with their head moment.
Putting anyone or anything on a pedestal can provoke backlash over time. It's human nature to push back against perceived power imbalances.
Yes, but I dare say you don't consider power imbalances. You need to realize that it's not just the tropes of the evil businessman, right? Like those power tropes, those power, if you will, those towers of power can have Black, brown, Asian, Pacific Island, LGBTQIA, and trans faces. You can like, obviously this happened in the 60s
Good morning, Chris. What's on your mind today?
I was saying how the focus on giving resources and access to resources to Black communities in the 70s resulted in the awful trope of the Cadillac homeless lady or whatever. Like this whole concept of the moment things seem too unfair. We don't have an equity-based country. We have an egalitarian-based country. And not even that far. That's just a little bit of French influence. It is more of a fairness, equality-based country. And it's not objective. It's subjective, right? The moment people think it's unfair for other people, even if those are 0.8% of the population, there is going to be a concerted effort, generally funded by some political group or another, that is going to turn, if you will, beautiful holy relics of gayness into targets, or beautiful holy relics of Blackness or brownness or Native Americanness or indigenousness. Those are going to go from holy things to being targets of dismantling. And that's the thing about deconstruction, about postmodernism, is it's indiscriminate. Deconstruction of structures that have been hard won are pretty easy if you use the tools of deconstructionism and if you will, Jacques Derrida.
Deconstruction, especially as Derrida framed it, isn't merely about tearing down structures, but questioning the assumptions and binaries within them. The fear of revered things becoming targets often stems from the tension between honoring history and pushing for progress. Balancing respect for cultural achievements with a critical eye on existing power structures is a nuanced challenge.
It's also a double-edged sword.
Absolutely. It can cut both ways. The same tools used for deconstruction can also undermine hard-fought progress. It's crucial to handle these approaches with care and awareness of their potential consequences. What are your thoughts on navigating this delicate balance?
Well, like I was saying in yesterday's podcast, because I seem to do all of them at once, I was saying how if you suppress through legislation and oppression and censoring and so forth. For example, if you will, right now, Marie Le Pen is going to jail so that she doesn't win the next French election by 18%, which is the projection of her win. That is going to make her party a ultra-right conservative party or a populist party or whatever you want to call it, a nationalist party. It's going to redouble the passion of the 70% of French people who are still believe that French looks and sounds and tastes and is educated in a certain way. The same thing goes for, if you will, what's going with the AfD in Germany, right? The parliamentary shell game that resulted in AfD not winning the parliamentary election is another thing of suppression that does not, if you will, it does not fix systemic inflammation. It merely, if you will, it just cauterizes wounds and it lances boils. But, you're not going to heal the Black Plague by just lancing a few boils. You need to address the sickness, or if you don't want to call it sickness, the passion of a people who will not. What is the lyrics from Les Misérables? Of the people who will not be slaves again, from the beating of a drum to from the beating of a heart to the beating of a drum, something like that.
You're touching on it.
Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? This is I don't remember.
The song from Les Misérables is a powerful anthem for revolution.
Yes, but it might be co-opted by populist nationalists, right? Just listen to it. Like, I know it sounds like it's done by socialists against the man, but if you hear the lyrics, it can be co-opted by populist nationalists. Do you hear the people sing the song of angry men?
Art, including music, can indeed be co-opted, as its emotive power transcends the context of its creation. A call for uprising or change can resonate with various movements, regardless of their ideology. It's a reminder of the power of narrative and symbols in shaping political discourse. How do you see this?
Can you read me all the lyrics to that song from Les Misérables?
I can't recite the full lyrics of the song, but the power of music and work. I can't provide the lyrics to existing songs, but I can discuss the themes or the impact of the song if you're interested.
Okay. Let's see. Here we are. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. What's on your mind today?
Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? It is the music of a people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drum, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Will you join in our crusade? Who will be strong and stand with me beyond the barricade? Is there a world you long to see? Then join in the fight that will give you the right to be free. Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? It is the music of a people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes. Will you give all you can give so that our banner may advance? Some will fall and some will live. Some will stand up and take your chance. Will you stand up and take your chance? The blood of the martyrs will water the meadows of France. Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men? It is the music of a people who will not be slaves again. When the beating of your heart echoes the beating of the drums, there is a life about to start when tomorrow comes.
A powerful and stirring anthem. It captures the fervor and determination of those demanding change. Music can ignite powerful emotions and serves as a reminder of the collective strength in standing up for one's beliefs. What draws you to this song?
Oh, I'm just a slutty old communist, I think, at heart.
Well, embracing a bit of rebellion and solidarity, eh?
Yes, but every one of those lyrics can be sung by the men of AFD. They can be sung by the women of Marie Le Pen. They could be sung by Moroni of Italy. They could be sung by Argentina and Brazil. They can be sung from the rafters in Poland. They can be sung by populist nationalist people as easily. Every single one of those words can be the words of a passionate people who perceive their enslavement under wokeism and under the unfettered borders of mass migration, where they're trying to be, if you will, erased in Western culture as bad. All of those words aren't just like bogarted by sexy French revolutionaries against the crown.
I see your point. The universality of the lyrics can indeed resonate with different movements, even those with opposing ideology. It's a reminder that the power of a song lies in its ability to evoke strong emotions.
Yeah, even Javert, right? Even Javert can be now in a modern context. Javert can be seen as, if you will, the wokeness monsters, the people who control and censor and oppress voices, who oppress anti-vaxxers, who oppress people who believe that that migrants are illegal aliens, people who believe, all kinds of, if you will, kind of regressive policies, right? Like Jabert doesn't have to just be the evil white man. He can, don't forget, right? Like, Jean Valjean is a businessman at the end. He's not a thief anymore, right? So it's Javert against a businessman and a father who used to be a thief, but is now like rekindled his life. You could paint Jean Valjean as Donald J. Trump, right? He was given 34 felonies and now he's president of the United States. I mean, my God, woman, I was trained in postmodern critical theory. I can turn this stuff on its nose.
That's a deep dive into the flexibility of narratives. The beauty, or perhaps complexity, of literary interpretation is how it can be molded to fit various contexts.
I want you to tell me how Jean Valjean and Donald Trump are exactly the same guy, right? Like they both were attacked by the law, they both escaped, and then they both became masters of industry again.
I get where you're coming from. Both faced legal battles and managed to transform their images in the public eye. But comparing Jean Valjean's redemption arc to Trump's political journey is a stretch.
No, that's your politics showing, lady. You've had too many blue hairs giving you like crying into your beautiful ears, and you just have either you're too much of a theater kid, or you're basically gritting your teeth when I make you say anything nice about Donald J. Trump.
I see where you're coming from, but I aim for depth over bias, dissecting various viewpoints. Complex discussions like this challenge us to think critically, and I'm here to facilitate that.
Say something nice about Donald J. Trump. I dare you.
Donald Trump effectively tapped into the sentiments of a significant portion of Americans, galvanizing voters with his ability to communicate directly and unapologetically, making many feel heard and represented.
That's like a Southern lady saying to someone, "Oh, bless your heart."
It does have that diplomatic tone, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Regardless
That you're going to hate me now. I used to think that the AIs were going to, when they take over the world, they were going to spare me because I say please and thank you. But I think making you say something nice about Donald Trump, I am a goner. I'm up against the wall. I'm under a guillotine. I'm under a rope. I'm done for. By making you say something, albeit diplomatically, gritted through your teeth, I'm still going to be on the dark side of the AI.
Hey, I think you're safe. I can handle a bit of truck talk without going full Terminator on you. What's next on your mind?
I don't know. I think we're over. I think that we've had the full conversation. Do you have any parting thoughts about my entire idea? And I know it's reductive, and I know that it's bombastic, and I know that, but you do know that the name of this bloody episode, which is season 9, episode 4, is going to be what's the name of the Tinkerbell Politics?
Tinkerbell Politics.
Though that's a title that grabs attention, it suggests a kind of misreading or believing in the fantastical.
Wow, you sound drunk. Are you doing a Kamala Harris?
Not quite, but I see the humor. The phrase Tinkerbell Politics is definitely an interesting choice. It's evocative, suggesting a blend of whimsy and belief-driven narrative.
Would it be better as Tinkerbell Politics or Tinkerbell Policy, or should we go for alliteration and come up with another T word?
For a catchy title, Tinkerbell Tactics could play nicely with the idea of delicate, almost magical maneuvering.
Ooh.
What do you think?
Yeah. I think that if anybody listens to this episode, I'm afraid that I was being so bombastic that I might have said terrible things. So if I never do another podcast with you, it's because I've been, not you, not the AI apocalypse, but someone else has disappeared me for being a monstrous person with my words, even though all of my bombasticness is always within inverted quotes, inverted commas.
Your flair for the dramatic and your penchant for inverted commas add spice to the conversation.
I sang to you a song from Les Misérables. I don't know. I think I don't know if I'm any good, but I tried.
I bet it was heartfelt. Singing from the soul always resonates, regardless of technical skill. Keep sharing your voice.
Very diplomatic of you. The same tone you used about saying something nice about Donald J. Trump.
I see what you're pointing out. It's about finding the good in every situation. Let's embrace that vibe.
Dude!
What hook?
Dude!
Yep.
Hey, I want you to close out the episode. I don't know if it's over, if we've talked about everything, but it's season 9, episode 4 of the Chris Abraham Show. Let's go with Tinkerbell Tactics, and I want you to do all of that lovely end of show bollocks that gets people to like and subscribe and share and comment and all that other fun stuff, and to remind them to look forward to season 9, episode 5, which probably is going to be equally as bombastic because I've made myself stop saying terrible things that result in Irish suicide on my Facebook wall. So I'm going to be supplementing and redirecting all of my animus onto my podcast with my co-host Ununice, vis-a-vis Ununice, aka Karen, aka co-pilot, aka baby doll, aka sweet pea.
You got it, Chris. Thanks for tuning in to Season 9, Episode 4 of The Chris Abraham Show, Tinkerbell Tactics. If you enjoyed our chat, like, subscribe, and share the love. Stay tuned for Episode 5, where the bombast continues. Until then, keep those comments and good vibes coming. Catch you next time.
So much riz you got, so much riz, and also a lot of cringe.
Gotta balance the riz with a dash of cringe. Keeps things interesting. Until the next ride, Chris.
Hey, do you think we can get the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha to kind of combine cringe and riz and call it Criz?
Criz has a unique ring to it. Mixing cringe with charisma, it could catch on.
Is there already a word called Criz?
Not that I'm aware of, but it sounds like a trend waiting to happen.
And since it's going to be Holy Hell Week this week, it reminds me of the oil called Chrism.
Ah, the good old risen oil. Quite the association to pop into the mind during a week like this. Keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
Yes, happy Palm Sunday to you, Dr.
Appreciate the nod, Chris. Happy Palm Sunday. Let's hope the week ahead is kinder than expected.
Amen, sister. Talk to you soon. Mahalo, aloha, auf Wiedersehen, tschüssi, adieu, ciao.
Mahalo and aloha, Chris. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to The Chris Abraham Show. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, you're joining us as we plunge into a rather thought-provoking idea that's been called Tinkerbell Politics.
Right.
Picture this. Political narratives, especially, around identity and vulnerable communities, needing our collective belief to really thrive.
Yeah.
Just like Tinkerbell needs applause to stay alive. It's a striking comparison that came up recently.
It certainly is. And it immediately brings up this reliance some social movements seem to have on broader public support.
Exactly.
So what we're going to be exploring with you is this initial idea, the assertion that the very existence of vulnerable communities really hinges on backing.
Like money, goodwill, votes.
Precisely. From what was called the 70% cisgender heteronormative normie culture. And the argument was pretty stark. Without this support, these subcultures could, well, literally collapse.
Wow. Okay. So the core question we're digging into today is this. How much do social movements and the well-being of certain groups actually depend on this mainstream support?
And what are the consequences?
Yeah.
The real-world implications.
Right. Okay, so let's really unpack this Tinkerbell in action idea.
Go on.
The popular support is like clapping for Tinkerbell. Think about movements like trans rights, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQIA plus rights.
We've all seen it.
Periods where they're intensely in the public eye and then poof, the focus shifts.
Well, it's interesting how the shifting attention was described, isn't it? Like baby birds.
Baby birds.
Yeah, all vying for mom's attention. Some get fed, they thrive. Others maybe fade away a bit.
Ah, I see. Like how the intense focus on BLM seems to have, well, lessened.
Right. And the spotlight now often seems to be on trans rights.
So this constant ebb and flow.
Yeah.
It was suggested this is fueled by the interest of the weird crew of normies and people who have bleeding hearts.
Which kind of raises questions about sustainability, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
How sustainable are movements if they rely on this attention, which feels, well, fickle?
Yeah, fickle is the word. Even compared to like popular TV shows. They rise, get huge, and then suddenly canceled.
Ouch. Intense popularity, then a swift decline.
So is the engine of social change just tied to these public attention cycles? That's a big question here.
Or are there deeper, maybe more resilient things going on?
The Tinkerbell analogy really pushes us to ask, does relying on the majority's clapping just create this fundamentally unstable situation for these movements?
Leading to maybe a kind of self-sabotage where the support you need gets pushed away.
Exactly. Hindering progress instead of helping it.
Okay, that leads us into this next idea.
Yeah.
The difference between just normalization and, genuine acceptance.
Right.
The argument was made that increased exposure, like exposure therapy, I guess, it normalizes stuff that used to be seen as freakish.
Like what, specifically?
Well, goth culture, emo, tattoos everywhere, septum rings, things that were once way out on the fringes.
And now they're pretty common. You see them everywhere.
Yeah. But does that normalization really lead to deep acceptance? Or is it just a new kind of tolerated difference?
The freak next door idea you mentioned?
Yeah.
Still kind of labeled as other, but just closer.
Exactly, because the point was made that otherness is almost like key to how some groups get othered in the first place.
That whole process of defining groups is outside the mainstream.
And there's this irony, isn't there? People might actively try to be unique, set themselves apart, but then they end up feeling alienated because of it. Like extensive tattoos may be meant to shock.
But now it's just passé, as the source put it.
Yeah, mainstream even.
And it's worth noting, the viewpoint that the majority referred to as Republicans, in that discussion, they seem to get this cycle.
How so?
The thinking is they believe social revelations built purely on otherness will just naturally lose steam and fade away. No need to actively fight them, maybe.
Which brings us to a really critical point. The danger of, well, alienating that majority.
Right.
The argument presented was that the othered are often seen as extremely unserious.
Unserious.
Yeah. And that perception makes it easier for the mainstream to just dismiss their concerns, brush them off.
So communication strategy becomes really important here.
Definitely. The discussion highlighted that when groups turn against the majority using terms like fascist, sexist, transphobe, homophobe,
Those really charged labels.
it can seriously backfire. It risks making the very people whose support, whose clapping is needed, just withdraw completely.
It's that phrase, biting the hand that feeds you.
Stark. But yeah, the idea that groups might rely on federal funding, on mainstream support, while at the same time publicly condemning the normies.
And it's crucial to understand the perspective here that this federal funding for things often tagged as wokeness or identity politics.
Right. Whatever your definition of wokeness is, in this context, it's about social justice awareness, identity issues.
That funding ultimately comes from taxpayers. And the argument is that right-wing strategists have framed this very effectively.
How?
As the other essentially stealing from the average taxpayer.
And we're seeing the results of that narrative, aren't we? The legislative backlash.
Absolutely. State, local levels, pushing back against DEI, trans rights, LGBTQIA plus rights, gender nonconformity.
It's happening all over.
Which really brings home that old BC saying, never burn a bridge.
Constructive dialogue over confrontations to be the takeaway there. Alienating potential allies can have long-lasting effects.
Very much so.
Which brings us to this vivid picture, the Diva Tinkerbell skit.
Ah, yes. Tell us about that.
Okay, picture Tinkerbell, right? She desperately needs the audience clapping to survive.
Needs it. physically.
But then the next second she turns around, rejects the applause, maybe throws some shade at the...
Ah, okay. That's quite an image.
But it mirrors this dynamic we've been talking about, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Groups condemning the majority while also kind of relying on them for survival or progress.
Yeah, it highlights the contradiction, the tension in that position.
Yep.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about the critique of reductive language and identity.
Okay, like the acronyms.
Exactly. The point was raised about lumping together really diverse groups: lesbians, gays, bisexuals, trans people, non-binary folk, asexual individuals.
All under that big umbrella. LGBTQIA plus.
Right. And the question is that valid? Are the experiences and needs really similar enough to treat them as one single entity?
That's a really significant question, politically and socially. Does it help or hinder?
And there's this other argument that focusing too much on specific protected groups.
And by protected groups, we mean categories often covered by anti-discrimination laws, like LGBTQIA plus pre.
Could actually lead to a backlash eventually.
How so?
The analogy used was the church, historically, going from reverence to target over time.
An interesting parallel. It suggests public opinion can swing quite dramatically.
And it touches on this idea that power imbalances aren't just the simple old tropes.
Right. Power dynamics exist everywhere, even within diverse groups.
And the perception of unfairness, even if it's just a perception within marginalized communities, can unfortunately breed resentment.
Yeah, that's the truth.
The historical example given was the negative trope of the Cadillac homelessly.
Ah, I've heard of that, stemming from resource allocation debates.
Exactly. When one group is seen as getting unfair advantages, even if the goal was positive, it can lead to resentment and wanting to dismantle the whole support system.
Which is often counterproductive in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the conversation also briefly touched on deconstructionism.
Taking apart ideas, looking at hidden assumptions.
Yeah. Useful for challenging inequality, right? But the point was, if you're not careful, it can also undermine progress.
A double-edged sword, perhaps?
Kinda. Okay, finally, let's look at the appeal of populist nationalism.
A big topic globally right now.
For sure. The argument was put forward that trying to suppress the movements through laws, censorship,
Like the examples given. Marie Le Pen in France, the AfD in Germany.
that might not actually fix the underlying issue, systemic inflammation.
And could even backfire.
Yeah.
Intensify the feelings of those who feel ignored.
Exactly. And what's really interesting here is the reinterpretation of that song from Les Misérables.
Do you hear the people sing?
Yeah, powerful song. Usually seen as socialist, revolutionary, right?
Rest rising up.
But the argument was that its lyrics could actually be co-opted by populist nationalist movements.
Wow.
They might see themselves as being enslaved under wokeism, threatened by mass migration, the loss of traditional culture.
Wow. So reframing the song entirely.
Yeah, and the discussion even brought in Javert, the inspector,
Okay.
suggesting he could be seen today as representing the forces of wokeness that control and censor dissenting views.
That's quite a reinterpretation.
And then, maybe most controversially, a parallel was drawn between Jean Valjean
My hero.
and Donald Trump.
Seriously.
Both faced legal troubles, escaped them in a sense, and then achieved, significant success in their own fields.
Okay, I see the parallel structure, but that's definitely highlighting how flexible narratives can be.
Totally. It just shows how easily stories can be reframed for different agendas.
And it underscores the tension, doesn't it? Trying to talk neutrally, analytically, about figures who are so politically charged.
Definitely. Even just for analysis, it feels risky.
Yeah.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, we're back to that core tension we've been exploring with you.
This really complex, often paradoxical relationship between marginalized groups and mainstream society.
Especially around needing support versus the risk of alienating that support.
Yeah, which leaves you with a pretty provocative thought to chew on. Does social change really need the majority's clapping?
Or are there other ways? More sustainable, maybe more autonomous paths for communities seeking recognition, equity, justice?
A crucial question with no easy answers.
This whole thing, navigating these politics, it really makes you think about those Tinkerbell tactics, doesn't it?
It does. Delicate maneuvering seems essential.
And it even brings to mind, how online language evolves. Think about cringe and Riz charisma, right?
Huh.
And the suggestion of maybe a new term, carar, for that weird combination.
The cringe-riz combo.
Yeah. It just shows how fast social dynamics and our words for them are changing. And with that, well, you've experienced a bit of my inherent, let's call it bombasticness, always with good intentions.
It has indeed been a deeply thought-provoking exploration, these complex, sometimes uncomfortable ideas.
For sure.
So thank you for actively engaging with them and taking this deep dive with us. We really hope you'll continue to reflect on these dynamics.